Alright guys, so we're going to talk about how to find the distance of points, midpoints, and slope. What you're going to learn is how to find the distance between 2 points, how to find the distance between 2 points on the coordinate plane, how to find the midpoint of 2 points, and how to find the slope of 2 points. Okay, I'm going to show you what all of these words mean. Distance just means the space in between 2 points, and then there's a formula that goes along with that. You do not have to memorize that formula. That formula is on your formula sheet, and you already know Pythagoras Theorem. Midpoint is the middle of a line that is on a coordinate plane. Then I want to show you the midpoint formula. You also do not have to memorize that. And then we're going to talk about slope. Slope is the rate of change. That could be negative, positive, or zero and undefined. And there's also a formula for it, which you do not have to memorize. It'll be on your formula sheet. Alright, so let's run over some words right quick. An endpoint is when you have a line segment and it's where the lines end at. So AB is, A and B are endpoints. And you only have endpoints for a line segment. Alright, a midpoint is when you have a line segment and they're on the coordinate plane. So the midpoint is when you have a line segment and it's the middle of the line. Okay, so C is the midpoint of line segment AB. And if this is the midpoint, that means from A to C and from C to B are the same. There is a formula for this. To find the midpoint for the x coordinate, you would do x1 plus x2. Take the two x values of the endpoint, add them together, divide by 2. For the y coordinates, y1 plus y2, take the y values of the two endpoints and divide them by 2. So if this was x, y, and this is x, y, we would call this x1 and this x2. We would call this x1 and y1. So let me rewrite that a little better for you. This is x1, this is y1. And then over here, this would be x2, y2. So this point is made up of an x and a y. This point would be made up of an x and a y. And if you want to in the middle, you can call this the midpoint coordinate and the y midpoint coordinate. And you can use this formula down here. This formula is on your formula sheet, so don't worry about it too much as far as memorizing it. Alright, parallel lines are lines that never ever cross each other. You've heard this a lot of times in math. And the new thing that we're adding is the slope of parallel lines are the same. Okay, perpendicular lines, you've seen it a lot of times already too. It's when two lines cross and they form a 90-degree angle. The new thing we're adding is the slope, which is represented by the letter M. M equals slope. And here we're going to say the slopes are have opposite signs and reciprocal fractions. And that's key, reciprocal fractions. And I'll show you exactly what that means. So if I have one slope that's 5/3 If I wanted to find the slope of that line that is perpendicular to it, then I would change this plus to a minus, and then I would take the reciprocal, which means to flip the fraction, and you got it. If this was a whole number, if I had -2, then I would change the sign, make it +2, and then I would change the sign to positive, and then I would flip this 2/1 to 1/2. All right, now let's keep going. So let's get into an example. It says, given the points -1 and 1 and 11 and 6, do the following. Find the distance, the midpoint, and the slope. Okay, so if we find the distance, so I have these 2 points and I want to find the distance of them. So I'll draw, well, I'll go ahead and label. Oops, just a second. So to get the distance, there is a formula on your formula sheet where it says distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 all squared plus y2 minus y1 all squared. Alright, so that is your distance formula. So what I'm going to do is take these 2 points that I'm given, and I'm going to label them as x1. This is x1. This is the x in the first position, the y in the first position. This is x in the second position, the y in the second position. All right, so you label those points, and then you use your distance formula. So we're going to say distance equals the square root, and anytime you substitute into a formula, make sure you put it in parentheses to get this correct. So my x1, my x2 is 11. So I'm going to say 11 parentheses minus my x1 is -1, so -1. And then I'm going to close those parentheses and square it. Plus, and let me put the parentheses that were already in the problem in blue. That's already a part of your formula. So now the next one says to do y2, which is 6, so parentheses 6, and then y1, so minus parentheses 1, close the parentheses, and then I'm going to put the ones that was already there back and put the squared back in the formula. Alrighty, so now we're going to use our calculator. You can do the math manually, or you can put it directly in the calculator. Either way, you should come up with the right answer. So here you're going to say second, get your square root key. So second square root key, and I'm going to type in exactly what I have on my paper. So 11, close the parentheses, minus 1, and then close that parentheses, and then I'm going to put squared plus 6 minus, and then 1, close it, and then raise to the second, and then here we get the distance to be 13. Now I'm going to show you the math the calculator did. You can go directly to your calculator, or you can do the math too. So let me show you what it did. It did 11 plus 1, because these two minuses becomes plus, so you're going to square this, plus 6 minus 1 is 5, so 5 squared. So you get 144 plus 25, which is 169. And then you get distance equal 13. Square root of 169 is 13. Alright, so that's how you get the distance. Now we're going to go in and use these same 2 points and get the midpoint. So let's insert another page. So the 2 points that we're working with are -1 and 1. So we got the distance. Now let's do the midpoint, -1 and 1, and 11 and 16. So I get -1 and 1. And the other point is 11 and 16. And this time it asked us for the midpoint. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to show you what this means. If I have some line on the coordinate plane and this is -1 and 1 and the other point is 11 and 16, what they want you to do is to find that middle coordinate. That's what we're being asked to find, this midpoint. So where can I put this point so that this side equals this side? So we're going to use our formula, which you do not have to memorize. So you're going to say midpoint equals, you're going to get the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So you're going to say x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And then on your formula sheet, it looks like this, I believe. Why they write it like this as an ordered pair, because midpoint is an ordered pair. So now you go in and you substitute in the values that you found. So you do -1 plus 11 over 2, and then you get 1 plus 16 over 2, and we're going to get 10 over 2 and 17 over 2. You can leave the fraction if it can't be reduced. So 10 over 2 is 5 and 17 over 2 cannot be reduced, so you leave it. So you have to put the point at 5 and 17 over 2. That's what the midpoint of that line would be. Okay? The next question talks about finding the slope. So we're going to go and find the slope. So I'm going to draw a line down here. We're going to put slope on this side. So to find your slope, the formula is slope is m. So that's the representation for slope. You're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what slope means is the rate of change. This is not a new concept for you guys. You've seen it in middle school and elementary school. Not elementary, middle school, and in 9th grade in Algebra 1. You talk extensively about slope there. Okay, so now we have those same 2 points, and we're just going to substitute in. And remember, anytime we substitute in, make sure you put it in parentheses. So the slope of this line, these 2 points will make up a line. So we're going to say 16 minus 1, because x1 is 1, over 11 minus 1. Okay, so you can use your calculator or you can use your brain. So 15 over 11 plus 1, this becomes plus, is 12. And when you reduce this reduces to divide both by 5, or you can use your calculator, alpha y equals, or if you have a scientific one, push your fraction key. If I not divide both of these by 5, if I divide both of these by 3, then we get 5 over 4. So that is our slope, and our slope is positive. We have a positive slope. That means this line is going to increase from left to right. It's going to increase from left to right. All right, that is everything for the first part of the problem. So let's go back. We found the distance, midpoint, and the slope when we're given ordered pairs. Now we want to find the distance, midpoint, and slope when we're given a graph. So in order to do it when you have a graph, what you need to do is find 2 points on your line. Well, let's do distance first. You can find 2 points on this line and use the distance formula, or you can use my favorite, Pythagoras Theorem. Find 2 points on the line that you can connect and then count. Find 2 points on the line that you can connect and then count. So here I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm 6 down. And then to go across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that looks about to be 8. So you can find distance that way by using Pythagoras Theorem. I'll take the 2 points that are on the line and use the distance formula. So here I'm going to say distance. And if you notice, I made a right triangle. This is why I can use Pythagoras Theorem. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're going to say 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. So this is going to help me find the distance between these 2 points on this line. Okay? So I'm going to get 36 plus 64 equals c squared. And then if I add that together, that's 100 equals c squared. Then I take the square root of both sides. Square root of 100 equals c. And so the distance of this line is, the distance between those 2 points on this line is 10. And it's 10 units. The same as the other ones, 10 units. If they don't give you units, then you can write just units. And distance is a linear unit. Now, we want to go and find the midpoint of these 2 points. So we're going to find the midpoint of these 2 points. So let me blow this up for a minute so I can see the graph a little better. So the midpoint of these 2 points, so my points here are -4 and 4. And the other point down here is, this point here is 5 and -2. So this point is 5 and -2. Alright, so let me put it back at its regular. Okay, so I'm going to insert another page and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use the same process that we just used in the previous problem to find the midpoint and the slope. So -4 and 4 and 5 and -2. Okay, so we get -4 and 4 and 5 and -2. Okay, to find the midpoint, what this means is that I have a line that's sitting on the coordinate plane somewhere, and I have one end at -4 and 4 and the other end is at 5 and -2, and I want to find what is the middle coordinate of these 2 points so that these 2 distances will be the same. So we're going to use that formula that's on your formula sheet. Midpoint is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And let's do the math. So I'm going to call this, always label this. This is x in the first position, y in the first position. Or you can label it in your picture too. X in the second position, y in the second position. So you're just going to go and substitute in. So -4 plus 5 over 2, and then -2 plus 4. Oh, I'm writing them backwards. Wait a minute. -4 plus 5, right? And then this should be 4 plus 2. It doesn't matter really which way you write this because addition is commutative, but I'm going to write it in order so I don't confuse you. So you get 4 and -2 over 2. So you can do the math in your calculator or you can do it in your head. So -4 plus 5 is +1 over 2. And then 4 plus negative 2 is going to be 2 over 2. The second part, the second coordinate can be reduced. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the middle of this line up here, this point is 1/2 and 1. This is where you can put the point so that the distance from the midpoint to the end segment is the same. The midpoint to the end point here is the same. Second part of the question asks you to find slope. And we already took 2 points on the line. And if they don't give you 2 points on the line to get slope, then just go and get it. Just find any 2 points on that line and then calculate your slope. They gave me 2 points, so I'm going to use what they gave me. So slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So m equals -2 minus 4 over 5 minus -4. And make sure you put your parentheses around your number. So -2 minus 4 is -6, and you can verify with your calculator. And 5 minus -4 becomes plus, so you get 9. So m equals negative, and this fraction can be reduced. If you're struggling with the reduction of fractions, then use your calculator and put y equals. But what I know is I can divide both of these by 3, so I get 2 over 3. And that means my slope is negative. It means my slope is negative in this case. And that line is going to fall from left to right. Alright, so go ahead, finish the rest of the problems. Please work on these problems so tomorrow you come to class. All I have to do is clear up what you don't understand and we can keep going. Okay, guys, see you later.